Straight ahead on 12 News, the colorful change that's simply too soon. We're in the garden to explain what's up with our trees. But first, from a Brooklyn Park manufacturing plant to a New Hope lumber company, why there's renewed optimism in the economy.
The company is as healthy as it's ever been.
12 News starts right now. Slowly but surely, Minnesota's job market continues to pick up steam.
A new jobs report out today shows more gains in the state's economy. Minnesota added 4,300 jobs in July. Government and the financial sectors posted the biggest gains. The state's unemployment rate, however, remained unchanged at 5.2%. Minnesota's jobless rate is still well below the national unemployment rate. Officials with the State Department of Employment and Economic Development say 95% of the jobs lost during the recession have now been recovered. For Minnesota businesses, the goal is usually to grow. One Brooklyn Park manufacturing company is finding in order to do that, they need to look for customers overseas.
So 2 parts are coming out at one time.
Plastic parts are rolling off the line at this Brooklyn Park manufacturing company.
It's an end cap for a water filtration device.
This colorful array of parts and products is just a sampling of what Diversified Plastics Incorporated makes for industries from aerospace to automotive. But they're always looking for new customers.
It's very difficult to find companies today who are interested in your services.
This is a class 100,000 clean room.
Where this company is finding new business is in the medical device industry.
They are making product for the female urology medical device company.
It's possible this local company could drum up even more business with medical companies in Europe.
I had never been to Europe. And
that's according to Vice President Annette Lund.
This mission really helped me meet a lot of new people and meet a lot of new contacts over there.
A recent Minnesota trade mission to Germany, Norway, and Sweden opened up Lund's eyes to new business opportunities.
I'm hoping that down the road we're going to find some European companies who want to start manufacturing in the U.S.
Yes, this is where we want to grow.
A 10,000 square foot addition means this company can take on more medical device work. Getting business from Europe won't happen overnight.
They're working with me.
But knowing the opportunity exists means Annette Lund's first trip to Europe won't be her last.
I would think it'd be a year to two before we saw some good business coming out of Europe.
The recent trade trip to Europe included opening up a Minnesota trade office in Dusseldorf, Germany, to promote exports in Minnesota.
Economists link future economic growth to the housing market. Locally, housing prices continue their upswing. In Maple Grove, July sale prices increased 14% over last year. In Crystal, it was a 23% gain. Brooklyn Park saw the biggest leap, with prices bouncing up 26%. The median sales price in that city is now $183,000. Experts say the historically low interest rates have helped boost home sales and prices. The result has helped drive economic growth. And as Delane Cleveland explains, some companies in the Northwest Metro are seeing an uptick in business that's a direct result of the housing recovery.
Amidst the buzz of heavy machinery,
this is where we house majority of our millwork. We also custom make louvers, shutters, custom moldings.
employees at Shearer Brothers are hard at work stacking lumber and filling orders for contractors building new homes and people doing home remodeling.
And we're still a far cry from where we were.
But CEO Mark Shearer says that business has definitely improved since the low point of 2008.
Our revenues this year are up 30% over last year, and last year they were up 20% over the year before. So certainly there's been an increase within the building community and what's happening.
However, the increase isn't just relegated to home building suppliers.
This has been very popular, this flat panel, but still people doing raised panels.
Sawhorse in Robbinsdale specializes in residential remodeling.
A lot of kitchen work. You know, we have a couple of projects in St. Paul going right now, and a couple in St. Louis Park.
Company President John Rothbauer says sales are up 15% year to date, thanks to consumer confidence from the housing recovery.
They feel a little more comfortable about home prices going up and their jobs and just the overall economy.
He admits the home remodeling business hasn't completely rebounded, but there's reason for optimism.
It's all positive signs.
Back in New Hope, Shearer says the recovery is something that simply had to happen sooner or later.
The company is as healthy as it's ever been. We have a great crew of people.
In New Hope, Dwayne Cleveland, 12 News.
Information released this week from the Census Bureau indicates that home improvement sales are up nationwide, and sales of building materials, in fact, are up 6% over last year.
A Georgia-based restaurant chain is making a move for the Twin Cities market, and it plans to make its debut in Maple Grove. Chick-fil-A is tentatively scheduled to open in Maple Grove October 10th at the fountains at Arbor Lakes. It'll be the first freestanding Chick-fil-A restaurant in the Twin Cities. To celebrate the planned opening, the Georgia-based company gave away hundreds of free sandwiches outside the Maple Grove Community Center. Maple Grove city officials also got in on the act. One local resident we ran into said he's been waiting for this day for years.
I think they're going to do really well, just a successful company that continues to grow. And honestly, I just think that there's a lot of people in this area, Minnesota, that don't know about it.
The Maple Grove store is expected to employ up to 80 people, and this was just one Twin Cities stop in the Chick-fil-A party tour. The company was in Apple Valley and will be in Coon Rapids on Friday and Bloomington on Saturday for store openings there as well.
The Anoka-Hennepin School District has received state approval to open a new school this fall, but this school will be entirely online. It's called Step Ahead High School, and it will focus on students who are interested in earning college credits. The district's goal is to increase course offerings and draw students from across the state.
Coming up, are the leaves really turning colors already? We are in the garden to get to the root of the problem.
Then later in sports, the Champlin Park boys soccer team is coming off a great season, but this year there's some new faces on the field and on the sideline.
But first, it's a look at your AccuWeather forecast. It's only August, but you may have noticed some leaves in the Northwest Metro are already changing colors.
In the garden this week, 12 News reporter Sonia Goen shows us what's behind that sudden change.
If you look around, you might think Mother Nature is playing a cruel joke on us. Parts of the Northwest Metro are looking like autumn. The bright red and orange colors are something you would normally see in September. But summer is not being shortchanged. The trees are just stressed out.
The trees are showing stress because of too much wet spring and then lack of water now.
Because of last year's rainfall shortage, some trees are drier than normal. And even though we had rain in the spring, it wasn't enough.
The water we have in May actually dissipated probably in June. We aren't in a drought, but we just haven't had enough rainfall to take care of the trees.
There are several other factors that cause stress on trees.
The spots on the leaf is actually a fungus.
Insects like the Japanese beetle are causing problems.
They are prolific eaters. They will come out in masses, and they are just a nuisance.
The pest was first spotted in the East Metro, but this year gardeners are seeing the Japanese beetle pop up in the Northwest Metro.
You'll see them on linden trees and rose bushes all over.
The summer storms we had are also causing leaves to turn into fall colors.
People to understand that the storm that we had in June and July where people lost a lot of trees is that if the tree got moved or if there's a crack that's developed, that can also cause stress in the tree and you won't see it right away.
Experts say the main thing you can do is to water your tree, but you're going to have to water for longer than 20 minutes.
Because their root ball goes down 14 inches, so you have to supplement water, and the best way to do that is to put a hose at the base of the tree and let it run for about 45 minutes to an hour at a trickle.
For In the Garden, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
Experts say you should keep an eye on healthy trees to see if they are showing signs of stress. Meanwhile, if you have any questions about your trees, you can take pictures and then take them into your local nursery to get advice. And they're changing colors this time of year. There's something wrong.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, could a spooky feeling be returning to the Northwest Metro?
We'll explain how one local man wants to provide plenty of screams. But first in sports, a season preview of one of the state's best prep football teams, the Wayzata Trojans. John Jacobson has that and more when we come back.
Well, John Jacobson joins us now with a look at sports, and it happens this way once in a while. You're at the state tournament with a group of experienced players, and graduation happens.
Yeah, that's why they got so good a year ago, right? That's what happened with this team. The Champlin Park boys soccer team is rebuilding And this preseason, after losing most of its players from last year's state tournament team, and the Rebels also have a new coach. Scott Doucette takes over as head coach, but he's no stranger to the program, having been a varsity assistant and JV coach for the Rebels for the past 6 years.
The group that I had last year with JV, we had a tremendously successful season, so we're looking to build upon that. So the biggest thing we're looking for is just gaining that experience, how quickly we can get that, and we know along the way we got a lot to learn and mistakes to make, so it's just learning from those mistakes and growing, and as long as we keep progressing, we'll have a very successful season. Got a lot of individually talented players out there.
It gives us more, I would think, an advantage with the younger kids, so they have some experience with our coach and with the way he's going to be coaching us, so it's kind of the same coaching style.
The Rebels' undefeated 2012 season and section title earned them the #1 seed at state, but they lost in the first round to Blaine. That premature exit could be motivation for this season.
We're hungry. We want to get to the Dome. We were really disappointed last year, you know, going 1-up on Blaine and coming up short, so we're hungry this year.
Champlin Park opens the season August 22nd against Woodbury. You can expect Wayzata football to be pretty much always in the mix of the best Class 6A teams in the state. What should their fans look for this season? Well, here's today's prep training camp report. The Wayzata football team's 2012 season ended with a loss to eventual champion Eden Prairie in the state semifinals. Blue 11! Blue! As the Trojans put on the pads for the first time this year, they know there isn't much margin for error when playing in the Lake Conference.
We need to prepare. We can't make mistakes. Obviously, EP is very good. So is Hopkins and Edina and Minnetonka. We just can't make mistakes. We got to go out there and do what we have to do.
The Trojans returned fewer than a third of their starters from a year ago. That doesn't seem to concern head coach Brad Anderson.
People ask, about how many guys you're going to have back, and I'd say it's more important how many players have had some varsity experience. While we have 7 starters back, I think that's been a pretty typical number the last few years. We have a number of other guys who've had a chance to play in the varsity game, and even though they weren't starters, they have an idea of what it's like on a Friday night.
Among the returning starters and key players for the Trojans are defensive lineman Drew Greeley, offensive tackle Matt Beck, defensive backs Kyle Calavoda and Nelson Moen. Brandon Lingen was hurt much of last year and will be a big target at tight end. Running back Tanner Bedard is the leading returning rusher, while Nick Olmanson and Andrew Redding will compete for snaps at quarterback. The Trojans say last year's senior class proved to be a big help to this group.
I learned a lot from them, and a lot of the guys developed some very close relationships with them, especially the offensive linemen. What we learned from them last year, we're going to put into this year.
After 13 seasons, the old turf at Wayzata Stadium is out. This young group of varsity players hope the new stuff has just as many wins in it. Wayzata was 9-2 a year ago. Coach Brad Anderson has won nearly 84% of his games as the Trojans head coach. They open on the road against a good Rosemont team on August 29th. Well, whatever your passion is, checking out the new stuff is always fun. And that includes fishing. Here's Tackle Terry Tuma with this week's Channel 12 fishing tip.
I just returned recently from Las Vegas and ICASHO, which is a worldwide trade show in regards to fishing equipment. It can be boating equipment, canoes, whatever it may be, but anything that has to do with fishing, including fly fishing. And some of the new items that are going to be very readily available and useful to the anglers in our areas are, one is Vexlar has introduced an FL28, and we'll talk a lot more about that in our ice fishing segment, but an unbelievable unit. I think we're all going to be impressed with that. Humminbird has introduced now, with the purchase of a chip, you can now graph your own lake. In other words, you can create your own hydrographic map, which is going to be a big plus. But some of the smaller lakes don't have any maps. And number two, maybe you'll have some spots that aren't even shown. Now you're going to be able to do that. Now also too, Spiderwater has introduced a glow visibility braid line, and Pure Fishing or Berkeley has introduced a lot of new soft baits, the Havoc line with the backslide, and the Flat Dog is a couple other ones. Also with the Gulp, with some of the hollow baits, the hollow night crawlers. And then too, Rapala has introduced some of the new baits also with some of the Extreme series with the jointed concept. And then also Rapala owns Storm, and they have introduced, this is sort of a hot item, but they call it a rash. It's a self-tuning bait. And you can see by the design of the bill, it's going to achieve the maximum depth almost immediately, and it also has rotating hooks. So a lot of new product out there, and Daiwa also has introduced a series of rods and reels for bass fishing called Tatula. So just a lot of good equipment that anglers are going to be able to use this coming 2014 season. Be sure to tune in next week for another tip right here. Enjoy the time on the water.
Thanks, Terry, and let's look at sports.
Came back with all kinds of
He
goodies,
did. A lot
didn't
of
he?
good stuff.
Thanks, John. Still ahead, a house of horrors that could be coming to a warehouse near you.
Well, this frightening scene has been in the area before and why it could be making a comeback. We'll be right back.
Here's a look ahead to Friday's 12 News. The case of disappearing bees. We'll meet a Maple Grove beekeeper who shows us why they're on the decline. Plus, in Weekend Showcase, a story in Robbinsdale with a lot of French influence. And in sports, Maple Grove's girls swimming and diving team is aiming for another big season in the pool, this year with a new head coach. We'll have those stories and much more coming up Friday at 4. And finally, a Minneapolis man is dreaming up a big scare for the Northwest Metro.
Dave Barnhill is looking for space to hold a haunted house. It's something he's done before in the Northwest Metro. It raises money for the Main Street School of Performing Arts in Hopkins and the JCs in Robbinsdale and Brooklyn Center. Barnhill says he needs a 5,000 square foot commercially zoned space with parking, minimal stairs, bathrooms, power, and heat.
I know that there's empty space out there, and all we're asking for is an empty space as soon as possible, and we'd be out of there by November 15th, and we leave it better than we found it. We're a gorgeous, magical Halloween event.
Well, Barnhill relies on local actors and volunteers to put on the haunted house. And if you know of such a space, one that could work for him, you can call Barnhill. Phone number's there, 612-414-5345. The group typically raises $2,000 to $3,000 for the local organizations, and they get a lot of artistically minded kids in there, and theater kids, and so they're doing a story for you, not just boo.
No.
It's really a scary story when you go in the.
It looked from that video. It looked like a theatrical production.
Yes, it is.
Well coordinated.
That'll do it. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you back here tomorrow.